welcome you to join our live coverage. And today I have a good news to announce. So first I will keep it as a secret, and first I will tell you where I am. Now I'm standing in the track line, the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So this is the construction site. Actually, it is the last section for the railway loop line circling a desert. So with about 3 years of construction, right now we are coming to the last stage of the laying of the railway track. So just a few hours ago, actually you could see the last track has been completed. So this is the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So today we will have the last section of the completion of the loop line. Now the construction workers is doing the last minute preparation. Now you could see they are trying to join the last parts of the railway. So this will last for around 2 hours. It is a major construction for the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. With the completion of this railway, meaning that the world's first railway loop line circling a desert will be completed. So I will show you a map. So right now actually we are standing in the railway section, shows in the red line. After we complete this section, it will combine with the Kashgar-Hotan Railway, the Kuala-Kashgar Railway, and also the Gormot-Kuala Railway. And then the railway loop line circling the Taklimakan Desert will be completed. With the completion of this track, and actually it will break the deadlock of the transportation. And also in the future, for 5 counties in the southern part of Xinjiang, and also several corporations will have the railway transportation in the future. So in the past, the people who are living in Minfeng County, or if they want to transport some of the cargo out of Minfeng, they have to travel a very long journey. They have to take the bus to Hotan, and then they have to change the train, and they will pass the Kashgar Quarter and also the Hotan and the Turban. In the end, it will arrive in Lanzhou. So this is a very long journey. So it is about 3,000 kilometers. It's a very long distance. As we all know, Xinjiang accounts for 1/6 of the national territory. For people who are living in these counties, they have to go through half of Xinjiang province in order to get out of the province. As you could see, this is really a really long distance. So last year, we have opened the Gormot-Kuala Railway. So people have more choices to travel outside. So they will pass Kashgar, Aksu, and Kuala. And also they have to exit Xinjiang from Qinghai province. As you could see, it have to pass half of the Taklimakan Desert. It's a really long distance. But right now, if we have this Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, and then people can travel directly to the eastern side of Xinjiang and exit Xinjiang. And in the future, we have already opening up a channel to connect the western bankland and also with other parts of Asia. So for the Taklimakan Desert, it locates in the central part of the Tarim Basin. If we are able to build this railway loop line, it will actually bring benefits for people who are living in the 5 counties in the southern part of Xinjiang. And also it will be conducive for the economic development in local region. And it is actually a major project in the railway facilities in Xinjiang province. However, behind the scenes, it is thanks to thousands of people's efforts. It is very difficult to build the railway in this area, because in this area you could see it has a lot of adverse weather condition, and also we have a big difference of the temperature. Especially, I would tell, you could see we have very strong wind in this area. Even though we have sunshine, but you will suffer from strong wind. It's hard to predict the weather condition in this area. And we don't know whether we will have a sandstorm in a few hours. In such a condition, for the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, it faced a lot of challenges. So people have to protect themselves through the construction. If we have large accumulation of sand and stone, and this will cover up some of the rail track, and this will also affect the safety of the commissioning of the trains. And also for the sand, they're pretty much alkaline, and this will also have some damage of the ballast track. So just take a look at this ballast. Now you could see this is covered with the sand, and the rock is become extremely hard. And when the train passes through the ballast track, it is very dangerous because we don't have this buffering system in the track, and this will also affect the safety of the commissioning of the railway. So we have to pay a lot of attention to prevent the sand and also the wind. So I would like to show you a bird's eye view in this area. Now you could see we have a lot of green belts alongside with the railway. For the construction workers, they're doing their work manually. They try to grow some of the plants in order to prevent the sandstorm. And later I will bring you closer to understand the situation here. And also, the local people have done a lot of work in building bridges as well. We are standing here now. People may be concerning that what's going next after we complete the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, and when this railway will officially commissioned in the future. So we have a special guest, Mr. Zhang Gang, to join us. So actually, he is a person in charge for the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. Dear viewers, good afternoon. So for the construction workers, actually, they are coming from the city of Ruoqiang. So when did you start the project? We start to lay the track from May the 10th. Last year, actually, it takes about 1 year for us to complete the laying of the track. So in general, the construction period is about 14 months. So we all know that today we will complete the laying of the railway track. I think that is not the end. Yes, right now we have just done some basic work to lay the foundation of the railway track. So if you look at closer on the ballast track, and we will try to remove some of the rocks on the track. And actually this will ensure a stable operation of the railway. And also for the construction workers, they have to enhance the ballast track. So at least we have to lift the track for about 20 centimeters. And also we will use some large size machineries to do the enhancement. So the purpose is to make sure that the railway track is stable. So right now we are still in the last stage. in fixing the railway track. So right now we are actually doing the first task, that is to flatten the surface. And in the future, as I said, we have to lift the track by 20 centimeters. And this will also lay a foundation for the future commissioning of the train. So as we mentioned, if we want to build railway in desert, it's more difficult, right? So can you share with us some of your thoughts? Maybe you could tell us some of the challenges during the past 1 year. So in this area, in the Taklimakan Desert, the weather is quite tough. And we always suffer from strong wind and the sandstorm. So today we have quite a mild weather. But in certain areas, we may have the sand. So some of these sandstorm will actually damage our equipment and our machineries. And if our machineries are damaged, it will also affect our work. So we need to have a power gun in order to remove some of the sand. But in the adverse situation, actually you will see the sand coming directly to us. It's just like you're watching a fiction. And for some of our construction workers, they have to wear goggles to protect themselves. From time to time, they have to do some high-rising work. And actually, when they finish their work, when they come back, they could see all of their body actually covered by sand. This is actually a physical challenge. And everyone is doing a very hard work in order to build this Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So we would like to provide better living conditions to these workers so they could have a good rest, and then they can fuel up themselves and to build the railway. So I believe we have made a lot of investment to build this railway. It is quite different to build a regular railway. So as far as I know, for every 100 yuan we invested in this railway, 15 yuan will be used to prevent and protect the workers from the sandstorm. So after we complete the laying of the railway track, what other things we need to do? As I said, first we have to lift the track, and also we will do the welding of the track. And of course, we will make some adjustments to make sure that the track is accurate and will not have any deviation during the operation of the train. So we pretty much finished the first stage, that is the flattened the railway track. And also you could see there were some buckles here. We have to do some accurate adjustments. So at least it is remain at a millimeter level. So what we are doing right now is trying to make sure the train is stable when it passes the railway track. And all in all, it is to provide comfortable experience for the customers. And of course, in the future, we will have the acceptance check and the safety evaluation. All of this work will be done by June next year. And then we will set the date, and by next June, the railway will officially open. Thank you for your introduction. So he mentioned a lot about the safety operation of the railway. And during the past few days, I do have a lot of visits in the construction site. And I believe you have this experience when you were sitting in the train, you could hear a very large noise. This is because when the train passes certain sections of the track, so it will have some turbulence, and then you could feel this kind of noise. So this is the joint, and also we could see there's a gap here. So when you're taking the train, you could hear the sound, and this is because the train is passing through the joint, and this will affect your experience when you're taking the train. But last time, when I take a closer look at the section of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, you could see some of these joints and the gap are well welded. So meaning that it is very smooth. So if you are taking a train passing this section of the road track, you could barely feel the movement of the train. So actually welding is a very technical work. So I would like to show you how they do it. So right now you could see we are using the machineries to do the welding job. So once again, I would like to invite another guest, Mr. Lin, to give us more introduction about the construction and the welding. Dear viewers, good afternoon. I'm the person in charge for the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So as we just talked about a lot about the welding of the joint or the crack, can you tell us more about the technical knowledge? So in the daytime, we are not able to see how the workers do the welding. When we do all of this welding work at night, so actually we need to capture some specific conditions. So we have to ensure the quality of the track line. And also we need to maintain the track line at a certain temperature. So in different regions, we may have different temperature. For example, in the Bayingolin County, we have to understand the weather condition in the local area. So the average temperature is about 21 Celsius degree. So I think the 20 Celsius degree is an ideal time and ideal temperature for us to do the welding of the joint. So because of the special features of the track and the special features of the line. So if the temperature is really high, if we are doing the welding, and then the track line will break down. This is because of the physical property of the track line. So as we know the situation that the heat makes something expand and cold makes it contract. So that's why we have to choose the ideal weather condition. So if you are doing the welding during very hot weather, if the weather goes down, and then the track will potentially break down. So that's why we need to find out an ideal temperature for us to do the welding. That said, we have to strike a balance, making sure that the track line can endure the heat as well as the cold. So that could make the rail track more intact and safe. So how can we identify the ideal temperature? Actually, we do have a thermometer to check the temperature of the track line. So right now it's about 2 p.m. So right now the temperature is really high for the track. So I would like to show you what is the temperature. So this is a measuring site. So 40 Celsius degree for the track. But even though the temperature outside is 26 Celsius degree, but if we look at the temperature on the track, is 40 Celsius degree. So I think that is not the ideal situation because we have to make sure that the track is about 20 Celsius degree. That's why we choose evening hours to do the welding. And this will be differed in different cities. So for example, in June and July, we cannot do the welding because both in daytime and evening, the temperature of the track is very high. It is above 21 Celsius degree. So right now we are in the section of the Bayingolin County, so we have to make sure that the temperature of the track is 21 Celsius degree plus and minus 5 Celsius degree. That's why in the past few months we are not doing the laying of the track, and we start the welding and the laying from late August. And in August we have to do it at about 2 a.m. in the morning. So right now we have to do the laying of the track at about 11 p.m. So we have to follow the guideline so as to ensure the safety of the operation of the train. So what happens if the whole day is quite hot? For example, we cannot find a time where the track is about 21 Celsius degree. Then we are not doing any work. So if that is the case, maybe you are not able to do it in extremely hot weather and extremely cold weather. That's right. For the construction period for the welding, we have very short, very narrow window. For example, in summer, we have at least 2.5 months we are not able to do the work. And in winter, after the temperature falls to 0 Celsius degree, we are not able to do the work. And this will actually affect the construction period. So we need to find out the best season, the reasonable season, and we will have more people to do the job. And we will extend the working hours. For example, in October and November, we could do the work in daytime. But after we enter into winter, after November, we are not able to do the work. So the golden time for the construction is October and November. So first we will do the welding, and later we will have some polishing job of the railway track. So we do have a task that is the polishing of the railway track. After the polishing job, you are not able to find any joints or any cracks or gaps of the railway track. So right now, China actually is quite advanced in the high-speed train network. So that's why when we are taking the high-speed train, I think it's quite stable. Even though you're putting a cup of water on your desk, you could not feel any movement of the train. We have to pay attention to the customer's experience. So the welding is extremely important for us when we are laying down the railway track. So this is quite a complex task. So we have to learn how this railway loop line is built. Now I would like to visit another place so that we could understand how these areas protect themselves from the wind and the sandstorm. So actually in this area we have around a green belt lasting about 300 kilometers, and this will protect the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So we have to pay equal emphasis of the construction of the facilities as well as the ecological protection. In the past, we built the railway first, and then we do some ecological protection. But as the effect is not as well as we expected, And then we start to build up this green belt to protect ourselves from wind and the sandstorm. And for some of these green belt area, and the width will last about 400 meters maximum and 200 meters minimum. And again, we have another special guest and the chief commander for the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, Mr. Wang Jingzhong. So I would like to introduce you, Mr. Wang. So actually, he is one of the most admirable construction worker, and because he has been working in the railway sector for almost 40 years. So actually, this is his first job. So at the beginning, he is a construction worker, and right now he become a senior engineer and person in charge of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So he spent a lot of time in the construction site, and also he doesn't have a lot of time to accompany his family members and his family. But still, you could see he's quite proud of his work. So actually, Mr. Wang is a leader in several major projects, especially for the railway network. In the southern Xinjiang province, he led the team to work on 5 major railway track. And also Mr. Wang has spent half of his life actually dedicated himself to build a railway in the southern part of Xinjiang. And I believe for all of these construction workers, they are devoted a lot, attached deeply with the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So today is the day for us to complete the closure of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, and every one of the construction workers, they are very proud of themselves. And when we came here in the morning, we took a lot of photos. I think it is quite honored to witness this historic moment. As we talk about the protection and the prevention of the wind and the sandstorm, I believe you have a lot of experience, because in the past, I believe you are in charge for the prevention of the wind and sandstorm in the Galmat Corner Railway. So when we are coming to this area, you could see there is a net, and for this net, we actually setting it up last year. Because as you could see, we are growing some of the plants. And from time to time, we may have some rabbits. And the rabbits will eat some of the plants. So that's why we are putting up a net to prevent the rabbits entering into the green belt. So my question is, the first time when you came to the Taklimakan Desert, do you see as many as the animals? No. The first time when I came here, I did not see any animals here. And then we are starting to build up this ecological site and the ecological area. We try to plant some trees and also some bushes. You could see we are trying to divide this place into different ecological protection area. So right now you could see there were so many plants. That's why we attract so many animals. So this is the square, the ecological square for us. And for some of this area is actually covered by the sand. Just take a look at these plants. So for this part, you could see it's quite tidied and clean. We have a standard here. So for all of these grasses, they need to grow as tall as about 30 centimeters. So what about this one? You could see for this area, most of the grass is actually covered by the sand. It's the sand is covering the grass, meaning that all of these belts, the protective belts, are working. And also we are growing a lot of plants in this area. So this is one type of the red willow we have grown in this area. But however you understand, we are in the middle part of the Tarim Basin. The Taklimakan Desert is very difficult to bring water to irrigate all of these plants. And for the desert, actually it have abundant resources of seeds. As we grow plants here, these plants are actually bringing water resources, and this will also help the other seeds to sprout. So now you could see for some of the seeds, they're actually buried deep inside of the sand. But as we bring some of the plants here, the water will irrigate some of the seeds, and then some of the other plants in the sand will grow up. For example, this kind of red willow, we never grow this kind of plant, but with the water resources, some of these willows are able to grow. So as we build this green belt here, it will help us to prevent and control the desertification, and also it will improve the ecological environment here. As you just mentioned, we are able to see some of the rabbits in this area, and also some of the seeds that have been buried for maybe hundreds of years, they're able to come back to life. So this is the red willow area, and also in other places, we may able to see the reeds. If these plants are able to come back to life in the desert, maybe it gives us some inspiration, and in the future we will think about maybe whether we could grow this kind of plants in the future. Even though when you are coming here, you think this is just a desert, but you have to choose the suitable plant. We have two ways to choose the plant. Based on my experience, and as I said, I actually devote myself to one major task with my whole life. So start from the 1969, I start to build very first the railway in the southern part of Xinjiang. We are paying attention to prevent the sandstorm and the wind, so that is the first initiative for us. And also we are able to build the Gama Quarter Railway and also the Turban Quarter Railway. We have collected a lot of experience in building railways in the desert. So during this process, I'm able to come up with a lot of good practices. At the same time, we will work with the local experts to understand the situation locally, because they could give us more perspective for the growing. Because in the past, we are thinking we try to grow some plants in autumn. So in the past, we try to grow trees in spring and harvest it in autumn. However, for the local experts, they said maybe we need to grow the trees and plants in autumn. So we could see a lot of diversities in different places. So for the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, I believe the survival rate for the plant is above 85%. We have 3 different types of terrains in this area. So in this area, this is the desert area. We have very simple way to grow the plants. We need to have abundant water resources. We just need to dig up a ditch, and then we bring the seeds inside of the desert and also to irrigate these plants. And also the second type of the terrain is the Gobi area, and the third type of the terrain is the salt and alkaline soil. So after you do some irrigation, and some of the soil will be damaged, and also it will not be suitable to grow the trees. So actually, with years of discovery and experience, we are trying to understand some of the good practices in growing the plants and trees. For example, in certain places, they are suitable to grow the red willow, and in certain areas, probably it was suitable for another type of plants, or in certain parts, bushes that may be more suitable for that place. So it is not a one-size-fits-all approach. So it's hard to say how many trees or how many plants we're able to grow each year. But however, on average, the survival rate of the plants is at least above 85%. I think the success of the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway is that these people paying a lot of attention to the ecological protection. We give a lot of time, and also we have done a lot of homework in order to understand how to grow these trees and the plants. First, we need time. And the second, when we are growing these trees, and actually just like we are trying to educate our kids. And for example, you have many kids at home, but for each one of them, they have different physical conditions. So we have to act in accordance of the actual situation. For example, we have the desertification program. Each year, we have to do the dynamic evaluation, so we could better understand the situation in different places. We have another project manager for the railway construction. So I am the project manager for the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So can you tell us more about your experience in the desertification program? What are some of your thoughts? As the commander just said, when we are taking care of these trees and the seedlings, it's just like we are taking care of our child. So in my past experience, I don't have a lot of experiences in the desertification program. So this is a very conventional way for us to prevent the sandstorm and the wind. However, in the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway projects, we need to take a more comprehensive measures for the desertification. So for example, on top of growing some of the plants, we also need to pay attention to the soil condition in different areas. And also we are able to pick soso, the specialized plant, to be grown in this area. According to our analysis, this kind of plants grow very fast. So in less than 2 or 3 years, it will grow at a height about 1.39 meters. And this is the red willow. It is the wild plant. I believe for this kind of plant, it has been growing for more time, maybe 4 or 5 years. But for this one, it only takes about 1 or 2 years. In order to grow all of these plants, in the early stage, we pay a lot of attention to the seedling. So first we have to try to cultivate the seed. And also we need to find out some of the root plants. We have to done a lot of studies to understand the rate of survival from different kinds of the plants. Because for some of the plants, maybe they are not suitable for the desert, so they will die after a few months. But for this kind of grass, and every year in about March, we will try to grow this grass. So in less than half a year, it could reach the height about the 80 centimeter. So right now we have these checking areas, the grass square, and also we have the green belt. But I believe we have a lot of seeds in place, and also we are trying to grow a large area of the trees, and this will be effectively help to prevent the sandstorm and the wind. So actually the grass square is just trying to serve as a protective shield. And after all the trees and the plants are growing up, and then we don't need this kind of grass square. Just take a look at this one. So for this one, we are not able to grow it very well. So for this one, you could see some of the branch, and in this area, we are trying to grow 2 different types of plants. So this is what we call the soso. Just take a look at the stick. And this one is the red willow. This is also our test. We don't want to grow 2 similar plants at the same place. What happens if one dies? That's why we want to choose a variety of different seeds, so at least one of them will grow up in the future. And also for certain areas, we will try to put some of the seeds. And as you can see, we have some plants here, and we are trying to irrigate some of these plants. So if we are trying to irrigate this area, maybe we are able to put more seeds here. And for some of the seeds, they are able to sprout, and also the height can reach about 1 to 2 meters. Just take a look at this one. The spout is quite tiny, but still it's alive. So I just said we don't want the rabbit to eat some of these sprouts. That's why we set up the net. And this year, we are trying to put some of the seeds under the earth. However, some of the seeds are eaten by mice. So each March and April, we are trying to spread out the seeds. However, in May, we are trying to put in more backup seeds because I'm afraid that some of the seeds will be eaten up by the rabbits and the mice. So basically, start from March to July and August, we would like to grow as much seed as possible. Because if we want to looking at the growing of these plants and the seeds, sometimes it takes years. I think the major challenge for us is that first of all, we have to make sure all of these plants are alive. So keeping them alive is the first step. And the second step is that we are trying to grow them well. For example, whether we could give more cultivation of these plants so that they can grow taller to build up this protective shield. So maybe you could tell us more about your thoughts. For example, it is your first time to engage in the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, but you are very experienced in other construction projects. For example, this time when we are building the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, we are trying to build up the ecological green area. So how do you feel? All right, let me recap for you. So I'm doing a lot of work in protecting the wind and the sandstorm. So I would like to ask another person to evaluate my work. The reason why I'm trying to build up this ecological protection site is to prevent the sand to enter into the construction site. So we start to lay the railway track from late May. Actually, we are quite afraid of the windy weather, especially in June, July, and August. So we start our work in May the 10th from last year. And right now we are able to lay the track for 535 kilometers. But I think we don't see many sand cover our track. So the total length is less than 1 kilometer. We could not avoid it 100%. Only in certain areas it is very difficult to prevent the sand, and we may have the track covered by sand for a certain area. But of course, we will continue to improve our plant to enlarge the size of the ecological protection area. Because for the railway, some of the track they're actually coming up and down with the desert. However, in the past 3 years, when we are doing the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, we don't experience a lot of sandstorm. So in certain area, I could see the plants is quite tall. They have at least 2 meters tall. So this will also ensure the safety for our construction of the railway track. I believe 1 year later, after we officially open the railway, I believe we don't have much damage by the sandstorm. I understand the sand is pretty much alkaline. So if they cover the railway track for a long time, otherwise this will actually have a damage to the track. So I'm trying to find out whether there may be some damage in the trackway, and I walked through a very long journey. I never seen any parts of the railway track have been damaged. So that said, in the past few years, we don't have much obstacles in the railway track. So what happens if in the future we do have some sand that has been laying on the ballast track? Well, if we do see some of the sand, so we could clean the sand manually. And also we will see for some time, the sand is completely covering the track. So in order to ensure the safety of the operation, so we need to have our construction workers to clean certain sections of the track. If we encounter adverse situation, for example, the whole track will be covered. In this area, we don't have the alarming system. It's very dangerous. If we encounter such kind of adverse situation, we will have our construction workers to clean all of the sand manually. If we have a extreme dangerous situation, we may have the machineries to clean some of the sand that have been stocking on the track. So first, you have to understand the situation. And also, we also need to pay attention to the natural situation. We have to make sure that we have to protect the sand. But you know, sand is not like water, because sometimes you could feel the sand in the air. Even though some of the sand will drop from the air, but it will move very slowly. So all in all, we have to pay attention to the ecological situation in this area. Especially we want to change the environmental situation in this area. Now you could see in less than 2 years, we do see some changes. I believe in the future, we are expecting more plants and more trees. At that time, the ecological environment will be significantly improved. So I believe right now the ecological belt is about 300 kilometers. So for the whole railway track is over 700 kilometers. Over 500 kilometers were affected by the sand and the wind. We may also lay out like different layers, different rankings for the severity of the sandstorm. For example, we have the flowing sandy situation. So for that kind of situation, the movement of the sand will be very fast. If that is the case, I think it's very difficult to protect all of these sand through the plantation. And also we are building a lot of bridges. So as we all know, for the Taklimakan Desert, it is the second largest desert in the world. So for example, on an annual basis, it will move around like 20 meters per year. So that's why we are building this bridge. So as you know, the water will float from under the bridge. And hopefully we could have all of this sand flowing under or below the bridge. And also we want to build up very solid foundation so that they could block some of the sand. And then we can clean away all of this sand. on a routine basis. So we do have a project that is to change the road into the bridge. I think this is a very suitable method for us to prevent the flow of the sand. Because of the sand, we build the bridge, and because of the movement of the sand, we also extend the length of the bridge. I understand by building the bridge is more difficult, and also the height of the bridge is very tall. It's about 35.4 meters. And also in the desert, if you look at the bridge, you could see for all of these bridges, they're just like dragons, and also they're of great significance. And for some bridges, it have only single log, and for some of the other bridges, maybe they have two legs. What are the difference? For the railway construction in China, we actually are focusing on certain concepts. For example, we need to be people-oriented, and also we need to use a green development philosophy to work on this construction. In the past, in different machineries, we need to have a human inside of these machineries. But right now, we have many unmanned machineries. We don't have an operator sitting inside of the machinery. It is more intelligent and smart. So if we have a person inside of the vehicle, maybe the efficiency will not be as high as we expected. That's why we are using a lot of high technologies to do the work. So in the past, we do have some like traditional method. For example, we have the single support bridge. This will also help to prevent the flow of the desert. However, in the desert area, you could see the weather condition is very adverse, and I think it's very difficult to have a single support bridge to prevent the movement of the sand. And we have a lot of uncertainties when we are building up this different kind of bridge. Now we are trying to make some improvement. So in the past, we only have a single support, and right now we have a dual support bridge. This is a specialized technology in the bridge. And also in the bridge, in the desert area, you could see sometimes we have hundreds of poles. So actually, we are trying to assemble all of these bridge in advance. And then we'll use very large hoisting machines to bring all of these parts into the desert area. We do have a verification method to test the stability of all of these bridges. So first, safety is our top priority. And also we need to have some technical verification. And later, we will analyze the cost and to see whether it has some impact of the environment. We have a number of testing methods to understand the functionalities of this bridge. So right now, as we have made some improvement of the technology, you could see it will be more beneficial to the environment. So for some of the parts, for example, if we don't want to use it anymore, we could recycle some of these areas. And especially, I would like to mention that in the northwestern side of China and in the desert, in the Gobi areas, we don't have to worry about the quality issues. For example, for the bridge, as I said, we assemble in advance. So meaning that we will assemble all of these parts in advance and then we will bring it to the desert directly. So it could ensure the quality of all of those infrastructure, and also it could help to ensure the safety of the laying of the railway track, and also ensure the safety of the operation of the train. So the quality of the bridge is also very important for the operation of the railway. So this is the philosophy we are sticking to. And you just talk about the unmanned system. Does that base on the navigation, the Beidou navigation system? So for us, we are actually working with the Railway R&D Center. We have a lot of cooperation. So this is actually an application of the navigation system. And in Xiong'an, we already used this navigation system before. We only applied to 1 kilometer. And I think we have accumulated a lot of valuable experiences in that application. So we want to do more trial. Again, this is the application of a smart intelligence. So we will make use of the big data and also the IoT so as to bring the so as for the transportation will be more convenient. Right now we have not yet opened the 5G service. And also we will set up the virtual trajectory in our computer. And also we will number each one of the transportation vehicle. And also for some of the machineries, actually we are using artificial intelligence. And for most of the vehicles, we don't need to have a operator sitting inside of the vehicle. Actually, we are using the Beidou navigation system. So actually, indeed, technology gives us a lot of advancement in the construction. So with the introduction, actually, I learned a lot from the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. So today, the railway track has been laid for the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. This means that the world's first railway loop line circling a desert has been completed. So maybe you could share with us how you feel. I feel very happy because my wish finally come true. So my wish is always that I would like to have a railway loop line circling the Taklimakan Desert, because in the past we have worked on the several railways, for example the Kashgar-Hotan Railway, the Kuala-Kashgar Railway, etc. But in the end, I do want to have this loop line completed. So actually for the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, you said it is just a small section. However, the length is about 800 kilometers. So I think it is quite an exciting moment for us to join and connect all of these 4 different railway lines. With the 800 kilometers long of the railway, we have over 20,000 construction workers working on that. So I think today I'm very happy because finally we have complete this loop line. But of course, in the future, we still pay attention to the quality, but we need to pay attention to the customer experience. So today we have complete the loop line. We have connect the loop line. But I think it is quite a challenging work for all of us because at the beginning we start from the Ruoqiang and start from last year we start the work, and finally coming to today we have finally joined the different railway. I'm very excited today. But still we have a lot of tasks ahead of us. And of course, in the future, we'll continue to make a lot of verification and adjustment of the railway. So we need to pay attention to the quality of the railway, but at the same time, we want to offer the most comfortable experience for our users. How do you feel? So today, we have completed the connection of the railway. Personally, I will use 2 words to describe my feeling. First, I feel very proud. So this is a common line. As the chairman just said, we have attached great importance to the ecological protection. And for this ordinary railway, we are able to complete the loop line in the desert. And the second, in the desert area, we still putting quality as our top priority. I think for me, it's a very valuable experience. And this will also help us to improve ourselves, improve our capability for the construction of the railway. Reviewing the past, maybe we have conquered a lot of difficulties, but coming to today, I would think we will have a new starting point. We will continue to carry on the spirit of the people who are working behind the scene of the railway, and we will be realistic and try our best to build the railway so that we could live up the mission of our country and live up the mission of our people. So if this is a high-speed train, people may understand why we have to invest a lot to build this railway. What we are doing is trying to provide the best experience to our customers. However, this is not a high-speed train. It is just a regular speed railway. But still, we are setting up the high standards to build this railway. So I hope in the future, no matter which train you are taken, you're able to enjoy the convenience and the comfort of the train. Actually, indeed, it is quite challenging for the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway. And actually, I can feel they're working really hard in the past 2 years to build the railway. And also, you could see here, we have the plantations and also the trees. And with all of these trees and plantations, you also can see the devotion of the construction workers. You could see the sand barrier, and also you have a very large size of the green belt. So the total size is about 180,000 square meters. However, all of these protective areas are built manually. This is quite admirable. So when we are trying to understand the construction of the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, we really want to pay tribute to the new technology of China, and also we would like to pay tribute to all the R&D personnel and also all the construction workers who have been sacrificed themselves in the construction of the railway. So actually, with 25 years of efforts, finally, our construction workers are able to build the first railway loop line circling a desert in the world. This also set up a landmark for the world and set a landmark for China. That comes to the end of the live coverage. See you next time.